Hey everybody. So last night, the last two remaining major restricted free agents have signed with their teams. Mikko Rantanen signs with Colorado. Kyle Connor signs with Winnipeg. And it doesn't look like we're going to have any William Nylander situations this year in the NHL. Everyone is back in camp. Everyone is signed with their teams before the start of the regular season and should be ready to go. Now, Julius Honka with Dallas is still an unsigned RFA, but I'm talking about major RFAs, important, like really important players for their teams. And Dallas is going to be just fine without Julius Honka. Mikko Rantanen needed to come back for Colorado, especially given the expectations in Colorado this year. And Kyle Connor absolutely needed to come back in Winnipeg. So these are the last two major RFAs, and they are signed. So first, let's talk about Mikko Rantanen. 6-year deal at $9.25 million per year. So really good job, I think, by Joe Sakic to not only get him signed to a long-term deal at 6 years, he got him at under $10 million per year, which I think is fantastic, especially given the fact that Rantanen looks like a guy who could potentially be a 100-point player at some point in the NHL. So to have him under $10 million per year is just fantastic. And, he's a huge part of that top line in Colorado. They needed him back. Plays with Landeskog and McKinnon, huge point producer. Really, really important player for the team. And with all these expectations that Colorado is going to be not only a playoff team, but one of the top teams in the Western Conference this year, they would not be able to do that without Mikko Rantanen in the lineup. Now their top line is back together. It's one of the best lines in the entire NHL, and I expect huge point production out of all three of those guys once again this year. So really good job there by Colorado to get him signed. Pretty good cap hit. Yeah, $9.25 million is a lot of money, but for that kind of player, this young of a player who is already so good, with back-to-back 80-plus point seasons, this was a deal that had to get done. For Kyle Connor in Winnipeg, 7-year deal, $7.14 million per year. 34 goals last year, really good young goal scorer. Not necessarily the point producer that, the top teams or the top players in the league are, but a really good goal scorer, somebody who should give you 30-plus goals year in and year out, and a really good player. And that was an important signing for Winnipeg because now they get Laine and Connor back, which rounds out their forward group the way that it should be, with Connor on the top line, Laine probably on the second line, right wing. But it gives them, their top six back. And now that they have their top six back, the defense still is not, I don't think, where it needs to be. But having Kyle Connor and Patrik Laine back gives Winnipeg a much better chance in that Central Division than they had without those two. If Connor and Laine were missing time or missing regular season games, that would have been the end of Winnipeg's season before it even began. Now both of them are back. They get two 30-plus goal scorers back. That's a huge deal. Connor was actually a better overall player by a lot than Patrik Laine last year. So Connor himself is a very important player to get back, and they've done that. So, and just over $7 million annually, pretty good deal there for somebody who I expect, 35 or so goals from every single season. That's not a bad cap hit at all. And again, he's young, and it's a 7-year deal. It's a long-term deal. So that's the difference. Laine, $6.75 million, but it's only a 2-year deal. It's a bridge deal. The longer the term, the more, the higher the AAV is going to be for these young players, because they're giving up the chance to sign, an even bigger deal 2 or 3 years down the road when they sign for a long term. So you knew that the cap hit was going to be higher. I thought it would be over 7, between 7 and 7.5. That's exactly where it ended up. And Connor's locked up now, so that he's going to be in Winnipeg for the foreseeable future. So that's really good for them. It gives them a much better chance in that division. I'm still not high on the Jets this year. I don't think they make the playoffs. I think that division is just too difficult, and they've lost too much on the back end for them to be a playoff team this year. I think they're going to end up out by a little bit. But it gives them a fighting chance at least to maybe snag a wild card spot, having Laine and Connor back. So overall, I think these are good deals in both situations. Obviously, they were deals that needed to get done. And now everyone is back in camp. Everyone is ready for the start of the season. We've got no Nylander situations, which is really good for the league, the teams, the players, everyone involved, the fans certainly. We want to see these players play, and they're all signed. So Julius Honka is the last remaining restricted free agent with Dallas. He's requested a trade. I don't know if that's going to actually happen or not. But he, to me, is not really a major player in Dallas. They're going to be fine without him. So he doesn't really count in my mind as a major RFA. All the major RFAs have now signed. So season starts this week on Wednesday. It's going to be a great time. So glad to have hockey back. And we've got all these big-name players finally. After a lot of uncertainty this offseason and a lot of holding out into training camps, they've all now signed. And everyone is back and ready to go. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.